today's programme, the topic is food and drink. What do English people like to eat? Talking about food, meals and meal times. Giving and understanding instructions. We hear about growing hops as an ingredient for English beer. And, of course, Meet a Man.
Join me later for a Chinese meal.
Everyday English. Do English people still eat the traditional English breakfast? Let's ask them.
What do you have for breakfast?
Usually I have toast or cereal and a cup of coffee as well.
Sometimes I'll have toast for breakfast with tea or cornflakes.
What do you usually have for breakfast?
Usually cereals or toast and sometimes eggs and bacon. Cook breakfast.
And what about lunch? What do English people have for lunch?
Sometimes I have stew or, well, in this cold weather, or maybe a sandwich in the summer, salad.
What time do you usually have lunch?
About 12:30.
What would you normally have for lunch?
Normal for lunch would be a light lunch, boiled and a few vegetables.
What time do you normally eat lunch?
I eat at 1 o'clock.
What do you usually have for lunch?
Lunch is usually sandwiches if it's at work, and if I'm at home I usually cook myself something like soup or something like that.
What time do you usually have lunch?
Always about 12 o'clock.
What do you have for lunch?
It varies. Something quick and easy.
Like?
Salad. You can see that I'm on a diet.
A helping hand.
What do you have for breakfast?
Usually I have toast or cereal and a cup of coffee as well.
Usually, I have toast or cereal. Notice that the words usually, sometimes, always can come at the beginning of the sentence or just before the verb like this. I usually have toast or cereal. What does he have for breakfast?
Sometimes I'll have toast for breakfast with tea.
Sometimes he has toast for breakfast with tea. Or he sometimes has toast for breakfast. What does she usually have for breakfast?
Usually cereals or toast and sometimes eggs and bacon. Cook breakfast.
She sometimes has eggs and bacon, a cooked breakfast. And for lunch? Listen again to what they have for lunch.
What do you have for lunch?
Sometimes I have stew or, well, in this cold weather.
Sometimes I have stew in this cold weather.
What would you normally have for lunch?
Normal for lunch would be a light lunch, boiled fish and a few vegetables.
He has a light lunch, boiled fish and a few vegetables. What does she have for lunch?
Lunch is usually sandwiches if it's at work.
She usually has sandwiches for lunch. What does he have for lunch?
It varies. Something quick and easy.
Like?
Salad. You can see that I'm on a diet.
It varies. He's on a diet. Everyday English.
Dinner smells good. Shall I finish laying the table?
Yes, please.
Knives?
Here we are.
Forks? Spoons? Serving spoons? Glasses? Anything else? Ah, salt and pepper.
Hi, Mum.
Hello, James.
What's for dinner?
It's casserole.
And?
Baked potatoes.
Smells good.
Hi there, what's for dinner?
Casserole and baked potatoes.
And anything else?
Peas and sweet corn.
Anything for pudding?
Apple crumble and ice cream.
That sounds good, but fattening.
Well, you don't have to eat any.
That's right, all the more for us. Are we ready now? I think that's big enough.
I know. In our family, my mum does most of the cooking. We eat dinner at about 6 o'clock when everyone's home from work or college. We have traditional food like shepherd's pie, casserole and lamb chops. Sometimes my mum cooks Italian food like spaghetti or lasagna, and we all like that.
Sometimes we have burgers and chips, or pizzas, that sort of thing from the freezer. And for puddings, what do we have? Sometimes we just have a yoghurt or ice cream. Sometimes we have real puddings, like today we're having apple crumble.
I like cooking sometimes. I like making cakes for special occasions, like birthday cakes.
I don't really like cooking, but I'm good at boiled eggs.
I really enjoy cooking Sunday lunch. Roast beef and Yorkshire pudding. That's my favourite.
A helping hand.
Dinner smells good. Shall I finish laying the table? Knives?
Knives.
Forks?
Forks.
Spoons?
Spoons.
Serving spoons?
Serving spoons.
Glasses?
Glasses.
Anything else? Ah, salt and pepper.
Anything else? Salt and pepper.
Hi there, what's for dinner?
Casserole
Casserole.
and baked potatoes.
Baked potatoes.
And anything else?
Peas
Peas.
and sweet corn.
Sweet corn.
Anything for pudding?
Apple crumble
Apple crumble.
and ice cream.
Ice cream.
Dinner smells good.
Smells good.
Dinner smells good.
That sounds good.
That sounds good. You can also say, it looks good and it tastes good. Or, it tastes delicious. And next, some more about food.
Take me tonight, it's at 7:30. We have traditional food like shepherd's pie, casserole and lamb chops.
Traditional dishes like shepherd's pie. Here, like means for example. Casserole. Lamb chops.
Sometimes we have burgers and chips, or pizzas, that sort of thing from the freezer.
Burgers, pizzas, chips. Food from the freezer.
And for puddings, what do we have? Sometimes we just have a yoghurt or ice cream. Sometimes we have real puddings, like today we're having apple crumble.
Puddings. That's second course or dessert. Yogurts. Ice cream. Or real puddings. That means homemade, like apple crumble.
I really enjoy cooking Sunday lunch. Roast beef and Yorkshire pudding. That's my favourite.
She really enjoys cooking the Sunday lunch. Roast beef and Yorkshire pudding is her favourite. But Yorkshire pudding isn't a pudding for dessert. It's part of the first course, as you will see in the next section. Specialised English. Ros Sampson teaches cookery and cooks for her family.
Roast beef and Yorkshire pudding is the traditional English Sunday lunch. Yorkshire pudding isn't difficult. You need a large bowl, glass or china, measuring jugs, a wooden spoon, and individual metal baking tins. Here are the ingredients. You need 175 grams of plain flour, a teaspoon of salt, 2 large eggs, a quarter of a pint of milk, that's 175 millilitres, and 110 millilitres of water. First, sift the flour and salt into the bowl. And make a hollow in the middle. Next, break the eggs into the flour. Now, with a wooden spoon, mix the eggs into the flour little by little, like this. Now, add the milk a little at a time. Draw the flour slowly into the mixture. And now the water. Beat it for about 5 minutes, if you can. Finally, leave the mixture in a cold place for about an hour. Meanwhile, the beef is roasting in the oven. Now, put some oil in the baking tins. Now put the tins in a very hot oven. When the oil is very hot, take the tins from the oven and place them on direct heat. Now pour in the mixture. Can you hear it sizzling? You can see it's beginning to cook. Put the Yorkshire puddings in the oven. Cook them for about 10 minutes until they're nicely risen and lightly browned. There you are. They're well risen and nicely brown. Serve them with roast beef, vegetables and hot gravy.
Now, here's a helping hand. The focus is on giving instructions in English. First, what do you need?
You need a large bowl.
You need a large bowl.
Measuring jugs.
Measuring jugs.
A wooden spoon.
A wooden spoon.
And individual metal baking tins.
Individual metal baking tins. Note the adjectives which describe those nouns. A large bowl describes the size. A wooden spoon describes the material. Measuring jugs describes their purpose, and individual metal baking tins describes the material and another quality. Individual means for one person. Next, the ingredients. Here, Roz gives you the quantities.
You need 175 grams of flour,
175 grams of flour,
a teaspoon of salt,
a teaspoon of salt,
2 large eggs,
2 large eggs,
a quarter of a pint of milk, that's 175 millilitres,
a quarter of a pint of milk. In Britain, many people still use the old measures. That means 175 millilitres of milk,
and 110 millilitres of water.
110 millilitres of water. Now, here are the instructions using the imperative form of the verb.
First, sift the flour and salt into the bowl.
First, sift the flour and salt into the bowl.
And make a hollow in the middle.
And make a hollow in the middle.
Next, break the eggs into the bowl.
Next, break the eggs into the bowl.
Now, with a wooden spoon, mix the eggs into the flour little by little.
Now, mix the eggs with the flour.
Now, add the milk a little at a time.
Now, add the milk.
Beat it for about 5 minutes, if you can.
Beat the mixture for about 5 minutes. Notice the time phrase.
Finally, leave the mixture for about an hour.
Finally, leave the mixture for about an hour.
Put some oil in the baking tins.
Put some oil in the baking tins.
And put them in the hot oven.
And put them in the hot oven.
Now pour in the mixture.
Now pour in the mixture.
Cook them for about 10 minutes.
Cook them for about 10 minutes.
There you are. They're well risen and nicely brown. Serve them with vegetables and hot gravy.
Serve them with vegetables and hot gravy. A personal view. September is the month for making jam and preserving fruit. It's also the month when the hops are harvested. Hops are important for making beer. Beryl and Dave Stevens live in an unusual house called an oast house. For Beryl, it is a very special place.
We used to live nearer to London, and we decided that we would like to have a place in the country, and we were out looking and we found this oast house, and it was in such an attractive setting that we just fell in love with it. This is an oast house. It's used for drying hops. These are hops, and they're used in the making of beer, and they give beer their special flavour. Well, this kitchen is special because it's round. In the old days, this room was used for the drying of the hops. There was a huge fire in the centre, and the smoke and the hot air rose to the ceiling, and the hops were laid on the floor above, and the hot air dried the hops. My husband Dave is a do-it-yourself enthusiast. It's very handy to have someone like him in the home because there's a lot of work to be done here, and he is doing a lot of the decorating and converting. The roundel is now used as a study for my husband, and years ago it was used as a room for drying the hops that were laid on the floor, and the heat from the fire from below would dry the hops. This is the dining room, and it has a lovely view. You can see the duck pond. We've kept a lot of the original beams, but the staircase we're hoping to change into a spiral staircase. This is the lounge now, and it was used for storing the sacks of hops after they'd been dried and before they went off in the wagons. I like living in the heart of the country for the peace and quiet, without the hustle bustle of being in London. We plan to live here for the rest of our lives. It's a wonderful home for our grandchildren, and it's a nice place for them to come and visit. We don't miss the city life at all. We know it's got the fast food, the restaurants and cinemas and theatres, but we just like living in the peace of the country.
Hello, it's you again. Good to see you. I've just been looking at all these restaurants and takeaways. Chinese takeaway, Indian takeaway, fish and chips, hamburgers, pizzas. It's all quite ridiculous if you ask me. If you ask me, that's one of our little sayings. You buy it hot and you take it away. Who wants to take away Chinese food? Chinese food is the easiest food in the world to cook, at home. Tonight, I have invited some friends for dinner, and one of them is a very special friend. And I am going to cook a Chinese meal. Now, you come along inside and watch me, because I am an expert Chinese cook. Now, don't get under my feet, because we haven't got much time, all right? The time is 4 minutes past 6, and they're coming at 7. Have I got everything? Let's go. Home, sweet home. Welcome. Now, have I got all the ingredients? Bean sprouts, garlic, red peppers, mushrooms, more mushrooms, spring onions, almonds, soy sauce, oil to fry with, noodles, rice, and most importantly, chicken. And now for the tools of the trade, as we say. First of all, and most importantly, the wok. W-O-K. Wok. This is what real Chinese people use to cook real Chinese food. And to eat real Chinese food, we use chopsticks. First, we chop. Right, mushroom. Oh dear, I need a new chopping board. We stir, we fry, we stir fry. do come through.
Get off!
Oh! I'm needed in the kitchen. Oh! Oh, oh. Oh dear. I know what to do. Fast food. The faster, the better. Ladies and gentlemen, the main course.
Oh, this is ridiculous. I'm going home.
Come along. Come along. Away we go. Enough's enough.
What a very successful evening. She likes me. And she loved the food.
Use your eyes. Use your eyes when you go out shopping. You can buy your fruit and vegetables at the greengrocers. The prices are quite good. Many small shops sell their goods by pounds and ounces still, as you can see if you use your eyes. Do you like to eat out? There are plenty of places to choose from. Read the signs before you go in and keep your eyes open for today's specials. Perhaps you like to buy everything you need at the supermarket. Inside, there is everything you need under one roof. Next week's programme is about going to the hairdressers. Haircuts for men and styling for ladies. Goodbye till then.